And we're back. I'm Sean Noble,
And I'm Chris Clements.
otherwise known as Mr. Lightbeard.
Mr. Lightbeer. I've got my glasses on today because I can't see a thing. I mean, goodness gracious.
That's all right.
I'm getting
We're
old.
both getting old. I have to reuse reading glasses as well.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
We have a lot of reading to do today.
Yeah.
We've kind of teased some things up.
There's a bit going on.
What's going on out in the world?
It is Thursday, March 24th. It is the fourth day of confirmation hearings for... I don't want to try to pronounce her first name.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Otherwise known as KBJ.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure that would be what I would want to be called, but okay.
Well, you know, it's kind of an homage, I think, to RBG.
Yeah.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
So this is a historic nomination.
You think anybody's really paying attention, though? Like
Probably
the body
not.
politic?
Probably not. I
Because
mean,
the
I think,
Democrats are in charge, and therefore they're everything's very, very smooth, very placating.
right.
And the Republicans asking about her record. It's just outrageous.
Yeah. Well, we'll
What
get
is
to
your
that.
judicial temperament, ma'am?
We'll get to that because the I have no, there have been people who've been critical of Biden saying, oh, he said he was going to, he prejudged who he was going to select because he said he was going to select an African-American woman. I don't have any problem with that. I mean, Reagan campaigned in 1980 saying he was going to, nominate a woman to the Supreme Court. So, I mean, there are lots of people qualified.
Yeah.
And being selected for the Supreme Court is not a meritorious issue. There's a lot of bias.
Yeah.
Because you're going to pick, whatever might fit your particular. I mean, every president has their own ideas of what they want to see. And so meritocracy is not really a thing when it comes to selection of Supreme Court nominees.
And this is, I mean, for you, this is one of your like little hobbies on the side. You get really into this in a way that I think most people who enjoy politics don't. Is that fair?
Probably true. And I think it's because of how engaged I was. So I was a broadcasting major, as we've talked about, but when I was in school, it was when Clarence Thomas was nominated, and watching that process was what I consider my road to Damascus in saying politics is where I want to go. Now I still pursued my broadcasting degree, but from that time forward, politics was front and center for me because I just thought the treatment of Clarence Thomas was pretty outrageous. I had not paid as close attention to the Bork hearings, but I'd heard a lot about it from my mom and others, and read some about it afterwards and during slightly. I mean, I was a teenager, but the Clarence Thomas hearings were really galvanizing for me.
Well, the Bork hearings really set us on this path of demonizing.
They were the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the end of demonizing very accomplished and proficient judges in ways that were unheard of before. And it was Ted Kennedy's speech on the Senate floor that did that regarding Judge Bork.
Yeah,
he portrayed him as this monster, and that became because of the press the press then and the press now. That became the literal interpretation of what his judicial philosophy would be.
Right. And Biden was the chairman of the committee at the time.
Imagine that.
And interestingly, he had hammered Bork for being a liar and being an awful person and all the things that he said. In fact, there was in today's Wall Street Journal, yesterday's Wall Street, came out today, posted yesterday, James Freeman, talking about the hearings. He harkens back to the Bork hearings, 1987, and he quotes from a letter that Mary Bork wrote in 2020 to the Journal, Said most people don't remember the hearings on Robert Bork for nomination to the Supreme Court, but I do. I was there during the 4 months of vicious political campaigning against this judicial nominee, my husband, and in the Senate hearing room, as then Senator Biden presided over a rigged hearing full of unprecedented level of lying and distortions of a man known for his integrity and judicial wisdom. Democrats flagrantly lied about Bob's record of opinions, and on day 4, this is something I had forgotten. On day 4 of the hearings, Senator Biden was accused of plagiarism and had to drop out of the presidential race.
Imagine
that was during the Bork hearing. I forgot about that.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I remember that. So that's interesting.
And that was the beginning of just outrageous activity.
What's interesting what she says next. 33 years later, he's still a man without a compass, guided now by prevailing progressive winds. Mm-hmm. After Bob left the court in 1988 to devote himself to writing and teaching, Democrats would often come to him and apologize for the way the Democratic politicians treated him and would leave with tears in their eyes.
I mean, it was.
Look what they did to Judge Kavanaugh. I mean, what they've done to everybody. And so Republicans now are coming into this hearing and bringing up issues based on her record.
Yeah,
not based on what she did possibly in high school.
Right. It's not because
she got really drunk and she fell down a flight of stairs or something stupid.
It's not character assassination as it was with others that they have had before them in the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah.
It's been, one of the things that's been looked into, and I think that, the Democrats didn't do a very good job of setting this up or preparing. I mean, Josh Hawley telegraphed days ago, last week, that he was going to ask her about her sentencing on child porn cases. And yet when she was asked about it, she didn't come across very well.
No, let's be clear. People who engage in child pornography are child predators.
Yeah. And in the 7 cases of child pornography that she faced as a judge, she sentenced each of them to a sentence that was less than the sentencing guidelines and what the prosecutors wanted.
Yeah.
So
by a wide margin.
Yeah. So is she
by a significant margin?
Is she weak on child pornographers? I mean, that's an argument you could make if it's lower than what the sentencing guidelines. And she was on the sentencing commission before that wrote the guidelines.
Sure.
So I think it's legitimate questions. She did say that she would recuse herself from a case that deals with Harvard because she sits on the board there. But the thing that's gotten the most attention is this question that Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee asked her, which was, can you provide the definition of a woman, for the word woman? And she said, no, I can't provide that definition. I'm not a biologist. And as you pointed out, the natural follow-up question that Blackburn should have asked was, are you a woman?
Are you a woman? Can you at least answer that for the court?
Yeah. Now, Freeman points out a tweet from comic and podcaster Bridget Fatassi, who I think is hilarious. But she said, fascinating turn of events as we've gone from #BelieveAllWomen to, quote, what is this word you speak of in just 4 years? I mean, maybe Kavanaugh's defense should have been, I didn't know she was a woman. I don't know. This is silly. I mean,
but this is where we find ourselves in America today. I mean, parsing the definition of the word woman, what makes up a woman, what is a woman, what are women's rights? We've gone precisely that. We've gone from the Me Too movement not too long ago to now this.
Yeah,
it's I find it disgusting and outrageous. And Marsha Blackburn, to her discredit, should have spent less time pontificating before the cameras and followed up with a really basic question, which is, well, Judge, can I ask you a basic question? Yes or no? Are you a woman? Based on your non-definition of biology.
Right. Well, and one thing I will say is that the nominee actually kind of made the point that, well, this is about biology and not feelings, right?
Yeah.
If she said, I'm not a biologist. So that probably undercuts some of the more leftist woke
Well,
arguments.
I feel the whole issue is sexist. You could even make a leap and say that it's racist in some ways. Because if you can define yourself as a woman or a man, then you can certainly define yourself in terms of race. And do so to your own benefit in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
And that's where this is going. And it was an interesting turn of events yesterday. And it's going to be played down almost completely. And will she get through? Yeah, I don't know if she'll get. It'll be interesting to see how many Republicans get peeled off.
The question is whether
maybe it's the
be
three again, like Lindsey Graham and his.
I don't know. Lindsey was
pretty squishiness.
Lindsey was pretty fired up. I mean, he fired up enough that he walked out of the hearing after he had his round of questioning on day 2.
But I think he does that for the cameras.
I think Ben Sass nailed it when he said, I'll leave it up to the Supreme Court to decide whether they want cameras in the courtroom. But if this is any indication, I think it's a bad idea because all it is grandstanding for that moment on the camera.
Yeah.
I think that she will be confirmed. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The question is whether any Republicans will join in that, or if Kamala Harris will be the tie-breaking vote. There is a slight chance that someone like a Manchin or a Sinema could.
I would doubt a
could
Sinema
vote no.
would at all. I think this. I mean, in terms of the social issues that are being pursued by the Democratic Party, there's Kyrsten Sinema, the pro-business, no new taxes, less regulation, whatever senator. And then there's the other Kyrsten Sinema, who's for the PRO Act, who's for the Equity Act, and it has a whole nother social agenda that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
And this justice certainly embodies all that.
Probably.
Now, for Joe Manchin, will he get enough pressure from from his own constituents to say, do not vote for her, and will he peel off? That would be a huge thing.
Yeah,
depending on how many Republicans, which I would bet Collins, Murkowski, although Murkowski has a big primary right now.
Although she's pretty tough. I think that if she's supportive, she'll be supportive. I don't want to undermine. This is a very historic nomination, obviously, the first African American woman, and I think that's a good thing. But I think it's completely fair to have legitimate questions about what she's done in the past as a judge. And I think the Republicans handled that much more appropriately than the Democrats have done, especially with Barrett and Kavanaugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
The dogma lives loudly in you that Feinstein said about Barrett.
Can you imagine saying that to Judge Brown Jackson? Could you imagine?
No.
You're not even supposed to ask about religion. Can you imagine?
There's not a religious test. That's against the Constitution.
One thing she did say is she said, I have that I thought was fine. She said, I have very strong personal religious beliefs. I'm not going to discuss those here. On
That's
some
exactly
of these issues,
the way it should be.
On some of these issues, they're very strong, but the law says something different. And I said, well, that's an appropriate answer.
Yeah.
One thing that the Federalist asks in a lead editorial is, can Brown Jackson rule on sex discrimination cases if she can't even define the word woman? If trial courts must call on biologists every time the subject of sex comes up, it's hard to see how justice can be done.
It's kind of a crazy question.
Oh, sure.
But, she walked herself into it to some degree. Now, she did, in response to some questioning from Cruz, She said, I know that I'm a woman. I know that Senator Blackburn is a woman. And the woman who I admire most in the world is in this room today, my mother. So she redeemed herself a little bit there. So interesting to watch what will happen over the next couple of weeks. She'll probably, I'm not going to say she's going to sail through to confirmation, but my guess is that not really any hiccups.
Well, I mean, these are, there hasn't been any fireworks to the extent where you would see, it going down in flames.
Well, nothing that would create real consternation for Democrats. I mean, they're not comfortable with the sentencing stuff on the child porn, but it's not, at this point, it doesn't seem like it's enough to rattle anybody enough to say, ooh, we got to step back.
Yeah.
That would look very bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of the Senate,
yeah,
we have a Senate candidate in Missouri.
Yeah, by the name of Eric Greitens, who keeps raising his
He's a
head.
former governor.
He is a former governor. He resigned in disgrace after
because he was probably going to be impeached, right?
Yeah, he was going to be impeached.
Give us a little background.
Not only was he going to be impeached, he was going to be prosecuted for lying by the then Attorney General, who's now Senator Josh Hawley. And Josh actually has a very interesting take on Eric Greitens, that he should be in handcuffs and not running for the Senate. And he's very blunt about that. The Wall Street Journal has a lead editorial on this as well, that a GOP specialty, bad Senate candidates, and they identify Eric as one of them. And right now, Eric, who is running for the open Senate seat in Missouri, in 2018, he resigned as governor amid allegations he sexually coerced a hairdresser and photographed her bound and nude as blackmail if she divulged the affair. And Mr. Greitens' ex-wife, Sheena Greitens, has alleged in court documents just this week that Greitens physically abused her and their sons, in addition to isolating them in a lake house and repeatedly threatening suicide to force Miss Greitens to publicly support him. Now,
that's not a good look.
No, it's not a good look. He denies everything, and as the Journal, rightly affirms, that the child custody fights aren't known for their factual restraint, but there's just a lot of there, and I'm just going to make an admission. I know Eric. I met him several years ago. He did an event for the local YPO chapter based on his book, The Heart and the Fist, which at the time was a fantastic book written by a former Navy SEAL, talking about how you can make small shifts in your life to put your life in a different direction, and really trying to help veterans coming home from, at that time, many, many years of war, find new purpose, new direction, and new lives. That's all good stuff. He then ran for governor. He won. He was well liked even by our current governor here, but then was overtaken obviously by ego, hubris, whatever you want to call it, demons, something. You can always tell a real loser politician when during a campaign they shower you with phone calls and want to talk to you, want your advice on things. You have their cell phone number, and the minute they're elected, their people tell you, please stop calling, this number is no longer active. And that was Eric Greitens. And then after that, it just went downhill.
Yeah.
I was really fortunate enough to hike Mount Rainier up to just Camp Muir. We didn't summit, with Robert Vera, who's been on the show, along with two former Navy SEALs. I guess, two Navy SEALs. You're never a former Navy SEAL, but I won't name their names. And I mentioned, as we were heading up to the mountain, Eric's name, and the reaction that I got was nothing less than vitriolic.
Wow.
He is not well respected in the SEAL community at all for various reasons. And that's all over the internet. You can go look that up.
And was that before or after him being governor and in this situation?
That was, I believe, right during the governor's race.
So it's before all this stuff came out.
Yeah.
They got
No. He was governor at the time, actually. So he resigned in 2018. So he would have been governor at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they had nothing but unkind words to say.
So they probably
mostly having to do with actually the publication of the book, which outlined a lot of different things about the way SEALs do things that should not have been in the book. They felt
interesting.
And there was a lot of that going around back then, where where SEALs, they have a code, and so much of that code is secrecy, and you have many of those SEALs who don't like these guys publishing books that reveal secrets.
Yeah. No, I could totally understand that.
But a lot of it was an assault on his character at the time, and things that they shared with me, I found at the time surprising. Now I don't find surprising at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lesson learned what's going on in Missouri to what could be going on here in Arizona. We don't want to elect folks who are carrying with a lot of ego, a lot of baggage, and a lot of stuff that you just don't want carrying on to the Senate, and they're going to lose.
Well,
if Eric gets the nomination, he's going to lose.
Because this is a Missouri again. So 2012, it was Todd Aiken when he said legitimate rape, and lost a Senate seat that should have been a win, and if Missouri goes down, that's a Republican seat that Roy Blunt's holding now.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it even harder for Republicans to win back the Senate, and it makes Arizona is
ground zero.
So having a solid nominee to go up against Mark Kelly is going to be very important, because Mark Kelly, well, we've given him a lot of hard time for being
where
he might be.
Kelly. He wants tax rebates for gas.
Yeah.
Another great idea by Mark Kelly.
Shouldn't have supported all this Biden agenda stuff that created the inflation to make it worse. But
no original thought.
But he will raise a ton of money, and
he's got $26 million right now.
He's voted. There's a few things. The voting against the filibuster is going to hurt him, I think. But he's going to be a formidable candidate, and the Republicans need to put up, their best option. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah. Well, in Missouri, my advice to Eric is to go fix your family.
Just get out, yeah.
Go fix your life. Get out. No one's going to begrudge you for getting out now. Go get re-involved. If you're really a conservative, there's a lot of things you can get involved with. There's a lot of things you can get re-engaged with to rebuild your reputation, to rebuild your life. But when your wife is filing affidavits with the court, basically under oath, saying that all these things have happened, you need do the party a favor, do the movement a favor. Just go away for a while.
If you really believe in the values of the conservative movement, don't damage it by putting this seat at risk.
Yeah, and he spoke at CPAC, which I did not know until a lot of this news came out. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. He has no business speaking at CPAC. He has no business speaking at, the local ladies' luncheon right now. Yeah. He needs to just go fix himself, go fix his family before you re-engage in this sort of thing.
Yeah, agreed. All right.
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah.
More
Thanks for listening. More to come.
God bless.